What's up, everybody? It's been a while, and this is honestly the content that most of you guys probably want right now, right? You're done with this season, you're over it, you're ready for things to just be done. You want different players. You want a different Seahawks team. And a big way in which you accomplish getting a new team when you're sick of the current one is to draft. So let's talk about some mock draft stuff. 2024 Seahawks mock draft 3.0. This is our third one, and obviously things have changed a lot since our last one. Our last one, the team was doing pretty good. The team had wins. The team was actually looking like they were headed somewhere good. Now we may end up picking in the top 10. And I honestly don't think we will, but it will be close. I don't think that we're going to be picking in outside the top 18. I'll say that much. I don't think we're making the playoffs. So I think we're going to be picking somewhere in the middle of the first round. So with that being said, let's take a look here. I decided to kind of approach things a little bit differently than I did in my first couple of mocks. Real quick before I get into the picks, I used the NFL mock draft database aggregate big board to judge roughly where players were being valued. So if I get something way off in terms of a player's value, it's because the aggregate currently has it off, which does happen, but it's really hard to judge right now where a player is going to be valued in April. We haven't even done the combine yet, but realistically, even if we did have the combine, it would still be really hard. All right, so let's start with our first round pick. Let's have a little bit of fun. Let's mix it up. Let's go with Jayden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU. Um, Probably the third best QB prospect in this draft right now, or by the time we get to the start of the draft process, he will be, because he's got such upper level talent. He's got potential beyond that of like a Michael Penix or Quinn Ewers or Riley Leonard or Cam Ward or really any of those guys except for the two monsters at the top. Like Jayden Daniels has firmly taken QB3, and he might go in the top 10 for all I know. But if he's there in the teens and the Seahawks are picking there, I have no problem with it. I would want Geno to continue to be the starter for the 2024 season until such a time as it makes sense to move to Jayden Daniels. But if there's an opportunity to get a quarterback of the future who has upper level potential, then I think you have to do it. And I think that this would be to the best benefit of this team. So, yeah, Jayden Daniels in the first round, and he may end up giving us he may end up giving us a higher ceiling when he's ready down the line. All right, now we jump to the third round here, and I'm a little bit optimistic that this guy will be here in the third, even the early third. But Troy Fautanu of the University of Washington, left guard. Troy Fautanu, he has a chance to really make himself some progress in the draft stock department if he plays well in the playoff, which is, in a way, I mean, obviously I would be very happy if he did, but I would also be a little worried about it because right now there are two big time left guard prospects in this draft, Barton and Bebe. Fatanu has a chance to kind of snuggle up with them if he does really well in the playoff. And obviously, he's playing tackle right now, but I think he projects to guard at the next level. And as of right now, he could slip to the third. And if he did, I would jump all over it. I don't like him as much as Barton or Bebe, but I do think he's a very intriguing prospect. And if there's one thing I really want to get in this upcoming draft, it is a left guard of the future that I feel really good about for the next decade plus. We haven't had one in a while. We've done a really good job addressing tackle. Can't hate on anything we're doing at the tackle position right now. Fatanu, he's he would be a left guard of the future that I would be excited about. And I would feel really comfortable about around building around that offensive line going forward. So Troy Fatanu is my first third. We do have another third rounder. Tyleik Williams, nose tackle out of Ohio State. So Tyleik, he isn't quite T'Vondre Sweat. I don't think T'Vondre Sweat's going to be available in the third anymore. He may end up going in the first round. Maybe it depends on the playoff. He could end up skyrocketing if he has a good playoff. But Tyleik Williams offers really, really good run stuffing. He doesn't have the pass rush of T'Vondre, but he is going to be a very valuable asset for you in the trenches, holding up against the run, eating up blockers, giving your linebackers freedom of movement, giving your linebackers a break from getting attacked by blockers. And if you added him to this defensive line, I think that everything would immediately improve. Like, let's say you bring back Leonard Williams, which I would expect us to, because we traded so much for to get him, and you pair Tyleik Williams with Leonard Williams and Jaron Reed, and if you bring him back Draymond Jones and maybe a Mario Edwards or a Mario Edwards type, now you've got a legitimate rotation to go with guys like Cam Young, who is coming along pretty decently well. So I think that would be good enough. I think that would give Jaron Reed a break. It wouldn't. It would mean that Jaron Reed doesn't have to play 800 snaps every game. And Tyleik Williams, well worth of a third round pick, I think. And as of right now, the aggregate thinks he's going to be there. I don't know if he will be, but if he is, I'm on it. Okay, fourth round pick. We're getting to day 3 now. It gets a little bit harder. I'm going with the linebacker Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma. He made himself some money this season with some of the monster games that he had. He slowed down a little bit in the second half of the year, but he was really the only standout defender on that Oklahoma defense to me. And he was a big part of the reason why they had the success that they did. So I expect Jordan Brooks to walk this offseason. Maybe we bring back Devin Bush, but if we do, we can't really depend on anything from him. I think we could bring back Wagner unless we decide to completely rip everything down. But even if we do bring back Wagner, that doesn't change the fact that we need somebody we can turn things over to long term. And Stutzman would hopefully be that guy. Like, I don't see John Radigan being that kind of guy. Obviously not Nick Bellore, so you got to bring in somebody young with some promise, and Danny Stutzman is certainly that. All right, now we bump on down to the 5th round here. We need a tight end. We're probably going to need multiple tight ends, but this mock only has one. Ben Sinnott of Kansas State. He was one of the most prolific tight ends in the country this year. He put up big numbers in KSU's offense. He's a very good blocker as well, underrated blocker. His blocking metrics on PFF are pretty good, and I think that he offers the well-rounded capabilities that we might need to replace many of the guys who are leaving this offseason, because I expect 2 of our tight ends to be gone next year, and maybe all 3. So Ben Sinnott would have to immediately get plugged in and contribute, and I think he's up to that task. I think he's up to the task of being an inline tight end. It might not be an immediate snap in, but I think that he can handle the responsibilities of the position. And if we don't come away with my personal favorite, Cade Stover, I think Ben Sinnott is probably your consolation prize. All right, now we're bumping down to the 6th round here. We got Tyke Smith, a safety out of Georgia. When in doubt, go try to find a player from Georgia. Go find a Bulldog and trust that the things will eventually work out in your favor. Although it's not working great for Philadelphia right now. Their defense is pretty bad, despite them loading up on Georgia Bulldogs. But Tyke Smith, certainly not one of the most prolific players on the Georgia defense, but he's somebody who did make a little bit of a name for himself as this year went on. And there's a decent lineage of safeties coming out of Georgia over the last several years now. Not super duper stars necessarily, but quality NFL players, quality NFL pieces. So Tyke Smith, I we got to do something about this safety room, and spending more money on safeties is clearly not it. So if we could spend a 6th round pick on a safety here with Tyke Smith and eventually get something even somewhat starting caliber out of him, that would be great, and a step in the right direction. My final pick, 7th rounder, is another safety. I don't know if this guy's going to declare, and if he does, I would expect him to move up in the aggregate, but Jaden Hicks out of Washington State. Really impressed with the season he had this year. He had very little to work with in terms of teammates on that Cougars team. He was by far the best defensive player on the Cougars, I think, and he routinely shined. He had a really good Apple Cup. He did everything he could to keep his team in that game. Throughout the season, I found myself kind of pulled back to him over and over and over again. And if he actually is there in the 7th, if this is somebody that the NFL is just going to completely pass over, I'm all over that. Now, if Jaden Hicks does declare for the draft, I would expect him to probably not be there in the 7th, but it's possible this is just one of those guys that slips through the cracks. We see those guys sometimes, and quite often when they eventually get scooped up, they end up being pretty good players. So Jaden Hicks would be my 7th round pick in this scenario, and that's my mock draft. So I've got a quarterback of the future that I think a lot of people would feel pretty good about. We've got a quality left guard prospect that would really solidify the future offensive line. Like, think about how good our long-term offensive line would be looking if we brought in Fatanu. I would be really excited to see Cross, Lucas, Fatanu, Bradford, and Oluwatimi. That's something that I think any Seahawks fan can be happy about. Tyleik Williams, he definitely adds depth to the defensive line that really needs it. We have no rotation up front at all. And then Danny Stutzman's kind of your linebacker of the future when Wagner decides he's had enough. Sinote is somebody who I think can plug in and play in the tight end room immediately. You probably need to find another tight end. Maybe you get somebody like John West over in UDFA. It's not that hard. Tyke Smith and Jaden Hicks provide future safety depth. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about the team in this situation. If we pulled off this draft, I would feel pretty decent about the 2024 season in terms of the players, in terms of the roster. I don't know about the rest of it, but I mean, you can't draft coaches. You can't draft GMs. You can't draft owners. You draft players. And I would feel pretty good about coming away with these players. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know if you think you can do better. The draft content isn't really going to kick off until after the season is over, obviously, but I think it's good to start to lead in to where it's going. And at this point in the season, I think we're all just about ready for draft stuff to start anyway. See you guys later.